Hey folks, how you doing out there? Welcome to another Drink and a Wink feature. Not an info review so much today. All of these, with the exception of one, I've already talked about before. What we're going to do today is, well, I've been trying to dial back on some purchases, so I've been, as I've mentioned in a previous video, I've been getting some mid-price, second-tier Irish whiskeys to bring to, just any kind of event that we've been going to. All whiskey from Europe and Scotland and Ireland. It's all going up in price for, various reasons, but the one is tariffs. So I've been trying to dial it back a little bit, and also just I have some, I've kind of exhausted the bottom tier when I was trying to do features on, let's say, value whiskeys, and I have some maybe third tier stuff, and I noticed that I didn't have a lot of middle tier stuff, especially in the Irish whiskey area, to kind of fill in that spot where I want to have something nice and tasty, but I still want to maybe use it as a mixer, or more importantly, eat it with food. I don't drink Redbreast 12-year-old calf strength with a meal, that kind of thing. So what we're going to do today is we're going to feature what I'm calling Irish 30-somethings. These are all mostly, well, with the exception of one, all maybe what we might consider second tier in all these different distilleries and brand offerings. And they're all falling in that $30 price range. Also, interestingly enough, as I was doing my research for pricing, almost all of these are currently on sale. So that's kind of nice, at least in our area in Illinois, not just Binny's, but a couple other places. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to start with, and some of these I talked about recently, two of them. Powers, I'll tell you what we're going to talk about. Powers Gold Label, and that was the one that I mentioned in the Powers lineup. This is the bottom tier in the Powers lineup. The same parent company, Irish Distillers, and Irish Distillers and Pernod Ricard, who owns Irish Distillers. We're also going to talk about the Jameson Triple Cask that I just talked about, both recent purchases. We're going to talk about a couple one older favorite, which is going to be Teeling's small single malt. Sorry. You know what? I grabbed the wrong one. Hold on a second. That means I also poured the wrong one. Error. We're not talking about Teeling's single malt, because that will change things up considerably. Which one was that? That's this one. We're going to, well... We're going to talk about Teeling's small batch, all right? That single malt is good. Well, that's a weird one. And I'll talk about that since I just tasted it, all right? And, that'll be a nice way to describe the differences of some of this stuff. We're going to talk about Teeling single malt. We're going to talk about Kilbeggan's triple cask, all right, which is a somewhat recent purchase and a really kind of a delight. Again, they're second tier. And then finally, I got very lucky. I was playing a gig last night, and I guess unfortunately for the Bushmills company, sometimes when I'm playing a gig, I don't want to buy whiskey because I don't want to spend gig money on whiskey, but I will check to see if there's anything on clearance. And lo and behold, coupled with a digital coupon that I didn't even think I was going to get, I was able to get the Bushmills Black Bush, excuse me, for a very low price. So we're going to talk about all of these and just kind of compare them and tell you a little bit about let's call it second tier Irish whiskey. So I'm going to be a little bit, make a few generalizations here, but Irish whiskey, we're very familiar with blended Irish whiskey. That's going to be regular Jamesons. It's going to be Tullamore Dew, a more recent newcomer. We're going to talk about Bushmills, just regular Bushmills. There's many others. We could talk about Powers Gold Label, which that's the one that's in the that's a first tier in the Powers brand. I'm blanking on a couple other ones. There's some other brands that I would stay away from. And again, a big fan of saying, I'm a big fan of saying never buy Proper 12 anything. Please don't. Even with McGregor, I don't know, UFC. Don't don't buy whiskey from people who throw punches. All right, there you go. Okay, unless it's in like a, I don't know, if you're settling a score in an Irish bar after you lost a bet, that's great. UFC fighters don't need it. He's not involved anymore because he's done worse things than punching people in the head. Still, it's garbage whiskey. Please don't drink that. There's a couple other Irish whiskey brands, and whatever, have at it. But those are the lower tier. Those are going to be a blend of maybe a little bit of malted barley, unmalted barley, and primarily, various grains blended together. Nothing wrong with them, but they have a distinct taste. Then you have the pride and joy of Irish whiskey, which is single pot still Irish whiskey. Okay, copper pot still Irish whiskey. This is your Redbreast 12. This is your the Spotline. This is Powers John's Lane and Three Swallows. This is, I'm sure Bushmills has one. On and on and on. Okay, those are the big names of those. Middleton will have one. That's kind of the top tier, and that again, when we say single pot still Irish whiskey, we're talking about, copper pot still, we are talking about something that is using a mash bill of malted barley and unmalted barley. It's very hard to find one of those, for under, at some point it was like $60. Now it's even going higher and higher. So what we're looking at, right, Michelle, because you don't want me to spend that kind of money anymore, right? Wait, you know what? Come back, though. The thing that I got in a bargain here on this clearance shelf, what did you think of that before I even give a rating?
It was enjoyable.
It was enjoyable. There you go. Okay. Bye-bye. So now, here's the other thing about what we're talking about here. Again, generalizing some, because some of these have been around for quite a while. I think the Irish whiskey distillers, we're looking at Scottish whiskey distillers, and then also whiskey distillers here, especially in the rye area and now the bourbon area, where Scotch whiskey distillers have been finishing in some kind of cask for years. So you had Glenmorangie original, and then they started doing something with, finished in this, finished in that cask, finished in that. And it's an interesting thing for folks like us to get these finishing casks. Many Scotch whiskey started with just sherry finishing or a blend of single malt ex-bourbon cask, ex-sherry cask together, or they actually were just aged entirely in a sherry cask. So Scotch whiskey found a way to change up their. It's kind of like, I don't know what's another example. What would be a good paradigm? Like, I don't know, one of these collectible things where you get the original and then they make all these variations. So they're making all these different flavor profiles that we can try and enjoy. And obviously, if you're let's just use the Glenmorangie example. If you have one facing of the original and then you have some super, super expensive one, it just gives the people more offerings. Think of looking at the toothpaste aisle. All right, you've got Glenmorangie that's aged in sherry. You have one that's aged in port. You have one that's aged in a French wine, and it has more facings. And companies do this to create more variety, but also just have more on the shelf. All right, so that's what I think has gone on with Irish whiskey. They were very successful selling their mostly blended grain single malt Scotch whiskey. It was just aged in oak barrels. Not single malt Scotch whiskey, blended Irish whiskey. It was aged in just some kind of oak cask. And then they have this higher end stuff. Some of the brands do, and now that's what we're looking at here. So all of these have paradigms, with the exception of one, of just a core range. And on most of them, we've owned them. There you go. Actually, I should say that Teeling, the small batch, is also their their bottom tier. So my thing is a little skewed, but it fell into the price tag really nicely. And Teeling is an interesting company. We'll talk about that. So I'm going to go from the back forwards, mainly because the Powers and Jameson are both coming from Irish distillers. So let's talk about that. First, I'm going to talk about Powers. Powers, gold label, again, owned by Pernod Ricard, and then under the Irish Distillers Dome in Middleton. This, again, there's nothing here with the exception of the gold label is their bottom tier. So they're not finished aging as anything. But there is one thing that's nice to notice here. Okay, why is it costing a little more? One, it's non-chill filtered, so we get, as they say, full flavored. We like that. And then secondly, the ABV on this is 43.2. Okay, because I'm not going to put a whole lot of notes on there, but I'm going to try it and enjoy it. This is straight down the middle, nice, crisp, honey, vanilla, a little bit of graininess, a little bit of spiciness. And again, they didn't chill filter this, okay? And since I haven't talked about it in a while, I'm still giving this a taste. Let me talk about chill filtering one more. If you don't understand what that is, I'll explain it. Chill filter, whiskey, okay, in colder climates, if I would take, not today, Jesus, not today, but if I would go out in the fall with this glass, not this one, but, no, actually this one, yes, now that I'm thinking about it, because this is at 43.2, but let's say a 40% ABV chill, non-chill filtered whiskey. They're not out there that much, unfortunately. More, you can see more of those in the Scotch whiskey world, where people are kind of keeping. If you, well, if I blowed in it, you've seen that. But if you take it out in the cold, the air that's coming off of your glass is going to cloud the glass, and for some reason, people don't like that. So when this will happen when it's kind of varies, but the ABV is under 45%, 44, 45, definitely at 46. You don't need that, okay? You don't see a lot of 40 ABV bourbons, okay? Most all of them are a little higher, but check that out. Next time you're on a fall night, if you take out Basil Hayden, my favorite target, at 40%, and then you take out something that's at 46 or 48 or bottled in bond, and you hold it up, you will see that Basil Hayden will frost, unless they're chill filtering. But chill filtering isn't quite the same thing here in the United States. But with this whiskey, there you go. All right. So they're claiming that this is not. Okay. I would venture to say, unless it's on the label, I think Teeling isn't. We'll check the labels. Teeling is also non-chill filtered. But if it's at over 46, they don't need to do it anyway. Anyway, when they chill filter this, the ongoing thing is that for people that are getting into flavors and not throwing ice in there, we can taste the difference, because it also seems to remove some kind of, I don't know if you want to say fats, but just some kind of the more tasty, meatier, thicker flavors, or thicker components that are in there. All right, I didn't explain that as well. But Powers whiskey, usually around 30, just over 30. I would say that if you're looking at, some of these other core range ones, or bottom of the barrel range ones, I should say, when this is around at $30 and sometimes on sale, there was no need for me to buy regular Jameson or regular Bushmills. The only one that might kind of hold up to this is Tullamore Dew, but I like Tullamore Dew for a specific reason. We'll talk about that later. That's really, really nice. Like I said, if you need an Irish whiskey, just on the bar, you're not really into all this, but you want one, this one will hold up as good as anything. Just a solid 7.9 rating. Okay, the other one that we're going to talk about from Irish distillers is this relatively new one called the Triple Triple. Now, Jameson has been really heavily been doing They're just very clear about it. They're taking regular Jameson and they do something else with it. Okay, so regular Jameson is a blend of bourbon aged and sherry aged. Okay, just regular Jameson. And then the third one is they're adding the aging of a chestnut cask in this. All right, it's really cool. This is only bottled at 40%, and it's listed at $30. And I have not. I've seen it in a lot of stores, from grocery stores to liquor store. I haven't seen it on sale. Not on sale yet. All right, let me drink that. So what I mentioned in my previous review about the triple is Jameson always has this kind of graininess, or a kind of like a, if you imagine corn husk, okay, if you kind of get that taste. You're grilling corn and you haven't shucked it all to gotten all the, the corn silk. I always get a little bit of that taste in regular Jameson sometimes. I shouldn't say sometimes, all the time. And this chestnut finishing has kind of removed that. And I know Michelle enjoyed this one as well. And I don't think you're a big fan of just regular Jameson. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Michelle isn't being distant or weird. She's just very tired because she's been hard at it, working and planning some new stuff, which we will probably bring up on one of these soon, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. There you go, Jameson. Jameson, again, just to finish up, the Irish Distillers Group produces Jameson. Watch what I do here, Michelle. Method and Madness Irish Whiskey, Powers, Nepog's Castle, I don't know if I'm pronouncing, the Spot Whiskeys, Middleton, as I said, Jameson, and finally, Redbreast. And Redbreast, their little kind of icon on the front and their little mascot is a little bird. So maybe when we launch on here, the nest, we'll have some Redbreast. We'll talk about it later. All right. Triple chestnut cask at $30. Jameson's triple chestnut cask finish at $30, also on sale. Once again, if it's around, I'm gonna spend $5 more and buy that versus some of these bottom of the range that we've talked about. I like it. It's a little interesting for people that like to add Irish whiskey to drinks that are maybe, like, it might be a little too sweet for something if you're making, I don't know what you make with Irish whiskey. There's many drinks, but like I don't know that this would be so good in like a ginger beer Irish whiskey mix or something like that. That Powers would be incredible with that. All right. So only because, like I said, it has a little sweeter flavor, a little nuttier flavor. I don't know if that goes with the ginger beer. Next one we're going to talk about is the Teeling Small Batch. Now, Bacardi owns Teeling. Teeling is owned, Bacardi owns a majority stake, but the two brothers, which were sons of Teeling's former history as Irish whiskey, Jack and Stephen, still have a significant ownership stake. Obviously, I just used the word significant. I know the word significant, but I was just reading that. I also know that they are, I don't know if they are distilling now. Originally, they were just producing, meaning they were buying sourced whiskey from, what's the big name? I forgot. It'll come to me as I'm talking about. Cooley Distillery. They might be just doing some of their distilling now. I don't know if that was in this batch. But the small batch is all 46%, non-chill filtered, so that's all good. And this is finished in a rum cask. So their bottom of the range in Teeling is finished in a rum cask. That's what's kind of pulling it apart, or pulling it differently. Or they're buying source whiskey and then they're doing some finish aging in a rum cask. Teeling usually lists for like 33. You're getting 46% non-chill. You've got actually the bottle age. So this one was, I've had this a while now. 2019 was when this was bottled. Cool canister. The bottle looks cool. I've liked everything that Teeling has had. We've tasted their um, their copper pot, single pot, pot still. We don't own that one, surprisingly. We own their single malt, which is excellent. Okay, that means it's all malted barley, more in the Scotch tradition. And we actually had their single grain, which is actually a high corn one. I like that one a lot too. Can't go wrong with Teeling. But this one, really, I got to say, in terms of value for this, I added this because even though it is the bottom of the range, $33. Boy, this one is fantastic. Again, notice it said it was finished in a rum cask, and it's owned by Bacardi. So one of the things about this is they obviously have access to rum casks. Okay, there are some other Irish whiskeys out there that do the rum cask thing. Tullamore has a rum cask one. I know I've mentioned that. But this one, for me, this is a very unique flavor for $33 whiskey. I can tell just by drinking it that this one, in the combination of what's going on, there is definitely more malt in this mash bill. I don't know that we know that, but I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you to buy every one, but I'll tell you what. Here's how this is. These first two, I don't know, those are long-term sipping whiskeys. This one, Teeling Small Batch, this can hold up with, like, end-of-the-night sipping whiskey, and that's why I've had the bottle for so long. It's not something I just throw into a... I wouldn't put this in Irish coffee. I wouldn't put it in any other mixed drink. It's funny, as I go back to these things, like I'm going to say, each one is like the one I'm going to recommend, but Teeling, I'm not trying to push any one of these individually from the rest. I'm just giving you some batch. Teeling Small Batch, you cannot go wrong. Speyside Scotch whiskey fans, meaning non-peated fans, would love this. I remember when I bought this, and actually I think I bought all my Teelings from a local store that always seemed to have them on a pretty deep sale. I guess they weren't selling there that much at this liquor store. And I remember, I'm a big, Michelle and I have been, in our early stages, big fans of Balveni's Caribbean Cask, which is a single malt Scotch. That's a... I forget how old that is. It's not 10, 12, 14, I can't remember. 14. And that price tag has gone up and up and up. Okay, it was a little high to begin with. That was a little more. That was more like a $70 whiskey, and it's been going up and up and up. And it's also a big name brand. And I remember trying to find a good rum cask finish thing. That would be more in the price tag and more affordable for me. So I remember paying about $25 for this one, and boy, that is really good. Stop the presses, close the gates, lock the gates. Shoot, oh, Mark Maron, lock the gates. Check out this Teeling Small Batch. All right. There you go. I think that was on sale today at Minnie's too, when I looked it up. Next, we're going to go over to Kilbeggan. Kilbeggan is a favorite of mine, just the brand. This is owned by Beam Suntory Company. And in terms of bigger name companies, I'm more on board with Beam Suntory than, say, Brown-Forman. So that makes me happy. As I've mentioned many times, they're just bottom of the tier, which competes in price with Bushmills and Jameson. I would pick that one over those other two all the time. This one, this has been around for a while, and they renamed it. I can't remember what the old name is, but this is matured in 3 different types of casks. This is going to be bourbon, Pedro Jimenez sherry, and American oak. Okay, so that's going to be just new oak, this sherry, and then an ex-bourbon cask. Okay. This is one of these. This is not a finishing. This would be where they're taking their distillate, probably the one from their bottom range, and they say blend. They're aging them separately in those 3 casks. Okay, I've talked about that before, but just I'm giving you more info than review here. But enjoy it. Maybe you missed it the last time. There's 2 different kinds of ways to do it. If you take a glass of something and then another glass and you pour them into separate casks, okay, one that's an ex-bourbon cask and one that's an ex-sherry cask, okay, then you blend it. That's one kind of flavoring. Apples and oranges. See what I did there? All right, so if you take your distillate and pour it into the apple cask, that doesn't exist, but you get it, and an orange cask, okay, and you age them separately, and then you take both of them and dump them into some kind of container, and then bottle it. That is a blend. Finishing would mean you age your whiskey primarily in the apple cask, okay, and then at the very end you dump it into the orange cask for a shorter period of time, and then it's bottled. Okay, that's the difference. So this one, they do a blend with 2 things, and then they finish it, okay, in the chestnut cask. I don't even know about that one. This one is a finish. This one is not. This is a blend. Okay, let me tell you about this one a little bit. This one, probably out of all of them so far, is the most Scotch-like. It seems like it has a very high malt content for the price, meaning in the combination of single malt, malted barley, unmalted barley, and other grain. This one seems to be very malty to me, which I like. Traditional Irish whiskey fans probably wouldn't go nuts for this one. Scotch whiskey fans that want to try something different would love this one. At $28, along with being bottled at 43%, this is a nice bottle. All right. So wait, it's not under 30. It was close enough, and I kind of figured that since this company is a little, not rarer, but maybe a little bit more off the board. If you do find it sometimes, it might be a little higher in price. Yeah, it's very. This one. The sherry does not pop out on this one, but it definitely has its effect, giving it a darker flavor on the finish, which sherry finished Scotch whiskey does for me. It has a darker woody flavor, and ex-bourbon and new oak is going to give you that oaky flavor that like regular Jameson sometimes suffers from. The sherry is masking that there, but it's not standing out and going, hello, I'm in here too. Okay? I bring that up because they're going to wrap up with Bushmill's Black Bush. So Bushmill's is an interesting bottle. I've had regular Bushmills and used it for all kinds of things. It's not a sipper, though, in my opinion. Okay? Then they have Red Bush, they have Black Bush, they have age statements. I'm going to show my inexperience. I don't know if they do a single malt. I'm sorry, I don't know if they do a. I don't know if they do a single malt. I don't know if they do a. You know what? I don't know if they do a copper pot still. I can't remember. Okay, I'm blanking. And I've had a little bit of whiskey here. Actually, I'm gonna give this one a full taste. I've never done a full taste on this. So let's talk about Black Bush. Black Bush runs around $35. They state that it has a higher amount of malt whiskey than their regular one, and then it's married with a lighter grain whiskey. Okay, so we got malt and then lighter grain. Who knows that? Probably corn of some sort. And then it's matured after matured in former Oloroso sherry, and bourbon casks. I'm not going to go into the difference between what the flavor profiles of uh, uh, Pedro Jimenez cask versus Oloroso casks. That's for you to find out. I don't want to do that. Okay, but there you go. You could try Kilbeggan's triple, and you could try Blackbush, and you can figure out the difference. Okay. On the nose, this one, the sherry pops out much more. I can see why Michelle liked it. This, where the Pedro Jimenez cask had a darker kind of like raisin skin, raisin dark, that kind of thing, and along with like older style wood, or maybe you can even think of charred wood or driftwood flavor. This this is spicier and it's much fruitier. This is actually the fruitiest whiskey that I've had tonight. Raisins. Boy, I'm not a big fan of regular Bushmills. This is really surprising me, and it's really great that I bought it for $15. There you go. Got to be smart, man. Like I said, that's a tip for you Chicagoans. Mariano's is weird. They tried to do some good stuff with whiskey, and now you can go into one and you can tell what part of the Chicagoland area you are in by their whiskey selection, because they're not going to have a full-fledged thing kind of thing. I go up North Shore ones, they're going to have a lot more Irish whiskey and Scotch whiskey, and they might have a cabinet where they have the higher end ones there. Ones in the more places where, let's call it European areas. For those of you not in Chicago, you don't give a shit, care about this, but if you go to a one in more of like where I grew up, or like yesterday I was in Des Plaines, they don't have as many of those types of things, and there's more. Well, actually, they have a lot more Irish whiskey there. Then if you go into some areas that are more Polish or Italian to a certain degree, they might have very little of that stuff, and there's more vodka. I'm not trying to be like they're smart. If people are going to be coming into that local one and buying that, that's the difference. Okay. However, it's kind of funny how like sometimes I think that they're kind of debating on should we have this and have that. Anyway, here's the trick: go into Mariano's, and very often you're going to find a couple of ones that are on clearance, which will mean it'll be half price off the shelf price. And if you get a digital coupon, then you come home with a, what did we say this was? $35 whiskey for $15 that I am really enjoying. One more time. On the nose on this one, this is really, really good. I'd really be interested to see. When I read this thing that it said it's high malt content, I'm getting that, and then it's lighter grain. I thought, yeah, they're going to be filling it with corn. It might be something different. I don't know. It's got to be corn, but it's good. This one again also is only bottled at 40%. I'm trying to see if there's anything else on here. Sherry Cask Reserve. There you go. That was fun. And I'm going to pour a little more of this because this is delicious. I'm not going to point out, I'm not going to give ratings to these because they're all going to fall in line. But if you're looking for real standard, good quality Irish whiskey with no finishing, Powers, just the gold label, is great. Okay. If you want to get, by the way, side note, if you want to get into single pot stills, everyone wants to get the red breast and all that. The John's Lane is just as good. Powers John's Lane. The Powers 3 Swallows That's the sleeper. People don't buy it. The bottle looks almost exactly the same, but if you don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to say, check out a Copper Pot Still Irish whiskey, and the prices look high, look for that 3 swallows. You will not be disappointed. All right. Matter of fact, that's probably my next purchase of Irish whiskeys. I got to get another one because we drained the other bottle. So here you go. That's good. This one is very interesting. If you're a Jameson fan, but you want to try something cool, this is really nice. This would be, I would consider this to be a summer whiskey. Very nice, very very fun. This would be delicious in an Irish coffee, but maybe a little too sweet for some other kinds of drinks. Teeling, you're not putting this in a drink. You're drinking this. You're sipping this. This is the one that I'm going to recommend if you want to really sip some cool Irish whiskey. That's very unique. Get this one, okay? Teeling Irish whiskey, small batch. Kilbeggan's triple cask, not as exciting as the other ones, but it is also the cheapest one. I think it's the cheapest one here. So if you saw this one on sale, then you might be paying as little as 23, 24 bucks. Really nice and tasty. I got their Kilbeggan, their single pot still Irish whiskey, if you can find it, because it's limited edition, is one of the best I've ever had. This one kind of felt like a little bit of an afterthought, because I actually saw an interview on it, but it's very, very tasty. Like I said, maybe I wouldn't buy it at 28 bucks. If you see it on sale, it'd be great. So we'll wrap this up with this. Teeling's small batch I knew was great, and I've been reaffirmed. What's the surprise of this lineup? Bushmill's Black Bush. This is really good. These three are 8, 8, 1, 8, maybe 8, 2. Small batch by Teeling with the consideration of the value and non-chill filter. That's like 8, 4. This one might get there. I have all night to figure that out. All right, folks, that was fun. Sorry it went a lot longer than I thought it was going to go, but appreciate you all hanging in there. And just one note, if you're watching this, I am moving over. I was actually going to think about doing this one live, but I am trying to move some of my other things, like a feature like this, which will go longer, over to my YouTube channel. Like I said, it's nothing. I love the Facebook element of posting videos there, posting my friends' videos quickly that I do with friends. I love doing the text aspect of it when I just post, a readable thing, not video. But unfortunately, they're not holding live. They're holding. If I shoot this and then post it later, they're going to keep that up there, I guess. But they're not into the business of doing live video anymore. That's their choice. Disappointing, but I guess understandable. So I am moving. For every time I do this, I move it over to the Drinkin' and Wink Facebook page too. I mean, a YouTube page too. I'm going to start doing live content there and posting features on there. But in the meantime, if you've made it this far into the 38 and 31 second, go over to YouTube and also follow me, because right now I don't have that many followers there, and I'd like to move more of my stuff there. Okay, and I envision maybe the Facebook group is going to be almost more in the idea of a blog and / which I know makes me sound like I'm 100, but a blog, tech stuff, and less video here, more video on YouTube. If you would do that, that would be great. Black Bush. I mean, yesterday I hit the luck of the Irish there. Cool. All right. I don't know what we'll be talking about to you next, but this was a fun trip. All right. Like I said, it's always fun to kind of experiment and take chances. But like I said, everything's going up in price. So, 2 tips from a whiskey buyer who. I'm a musician and an adjunct teacher. I don't have a budget to go crazy yet. Maybe I'll change things up and it'll be great. And I know that I'm confident that it will. But 2 tips. 1, you go into your local liquor store, especially if you're in Illinois and you go to Binny's. Go check those ends of bin racks that they have, which they don't call it clearance. I don't know why. You're not going to get as great a sale as what they would consider clearance, but check those things. You might find something that I've talked about there. I have found stuff that has blown my mind, all right, at a very deep discount. And while we endure these tariffs, you might also find some things there that they're trying to get rid of so they can get the new product up there at a higher price. Yes, that's going to happen. Also, be careful of stuff that looks dusty that they have marked up with the tariffs. All right, there's a bottle up there that was purchased, and it looks dusty. That means they got it before the tariffs, so don't buy it. If it's on the end bin, go ahead and buy it. Thirdly, like I said, liquor stores. Liquor departments in grocery stores. I've seen this here in Chicagoland, Jewel, Mariano's. I've seen it in other places. They will have a couple of clearance things. Yesterday, at the store that I was at, who knows why, not only was this on clearance, but Uncle Nearest's, where is it at? Oh, it's back there. Whatever their Tennessee whiskey, which Michelle loves, and we love that bottle. I almost bought that one. My sister's sister and family bought us that bottle a while back. Thanks, Lauren and Mike. But I was on clearance right there on the shelf. So do that. All right. I know we all can't spend a lot of money unless you're a big shooter, and you know who you are, big shooters. Anyway, speaking of big shooter, here's a little shooter.